We rank the episodes of Death Battle Season 9. All that and more on today's episode of BrobusCast Death Battle Edition. Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of BrobusCast. I'm your host, Brobuscus. With me today is ZDogg.
Witty intro insert here.
And Richard.
I have nothing to add for the year 2023.
That is soon going to change. I imagine anyway. And joining us, a very special guest. Because yes, we're actually going to have a guest for this ranking. Who would have guessed? Incidental wordplay aside, please welcome the storyboarder, John Mitchell.
Obligatory cameo quote here. Hey, how's it going?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Surprise. Yeah, after all the mentions you've gotten, you're finally in the flesh on here.
The closest
Yay.
you're gonna get.
Closer you're going to get to in the flesh anyway.
Well, yeah, close enough.
So yeah, I mean, we did this for Season 7, we did this for Season 8, and by Jove, we're going to do it for Season 9. We're ranking all the episodes of this season. We've done this twice already, but I'll just go ahead and say it again. Basic, same rules apply. The three of us have our lists. I combine them together using the dark power of math.
Oh god.
Math.
And basically, whatever got the lowest amount of points, I'm going by golf rule, so the lowest points wins.
Yeah.
And when in the case of ties, basically just whichever 2 out of 3 of us like the episode more, essentially.
Yep.
So this does go from 1 to 17, and yes, I said 17 because we are including Excalibur versus Raiden on here, which should make for a fun discussion.
Indeed. Yeah, I'm honestly very intrigued how this is gonna go because, I mean, spoiler alert, I think we can all of us can safely say this is a very stacked season and a very hard one to rank overall.
I can't confirm that. It was very hard to rank these in our personal times.
Yeah,
it's like,
I think this kind of goes without saying, but this might be the hardest season to rank so far.
Yeah.
Very flattering.
Because every episode, I'm not just saying this because we have someone on here. I'm being genuine. We have in my opinion, anyway. I don't know if I can. I don't intend on speaking for anyone else here, but in my opinion, this is a season that the worst episodes are at the very least still enjoyable to watch.
Yes, I was gonna say that. Like, there's not a single episode in this season that I outright dislike or hate. Yeah. I have a positive things to say about each episode. Just some episodes have more positives than others. So
yeah,
I can concur. It was just a matter of I liked this episode more than I did this episode. So it's not even a matter of. It's not even a matter of hate, love, fantastic. It's just, I just thought these episodes were much more better.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I have to say, if y'all do have some critiques or criticisms, feel free to let loose, because I'm the type of guy that really likes to get that kind of feedback to help with other episodes in the future and stuff like that. So to know that you guys actually find a lot of these episodes, almost all of them at least above a 7 or a 6, is good.
Yeah.
The art team really brought the storm with this one when you did our best.
I can tell.
Yeah, for real.
We did. We've
like,
been
damn, man.
We were lollygagging a lot on this season. We were like, "Oh, this episode's the best." No, episode later. No, holy shit, this episode's even better.
Yeah.
it's ridiculous.
And I'm gonna be honest. Aside from probably my top two, I have a feeling this is gonna change around. So like,
it might.
in the future.
Yeah.
So like this is just a thing now. So don't expect our opinions to change as well.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
at least mine. So.
Yeah. That might apply to me too. But anyways, we have 17 episodes to talk about, so I say we just stop the pre-ramble and jump right in.
Yes.
Sounds good.
Onward.
Okay, so to start things off, there's an echo. That's fun.
I
So
see Jedi things light up. When
it's Richard.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Okay, so to start things off, we have a tie.
Are you kidding me?
What? We have a tie?
We have a tie for the bottom of the list, but like I said, you know, if 2 out of 3 of us like a certain episode more, it gets higher by 1 placement. But
well.
So with that in mind, number 17, I'm gonna do something a little different. I'm gonna play instead of playing just the endings like I usually do. I might just throw in like a montage of the episode because why not? I feel frisky today. So with that said, cue the montage for number 17 with 47 points. Jason Voorhees versus Michael Myers.
Hey, okay.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah, honestly.
Sinking feeling that this was going to be the one.
Yeah.
All right. Well, what may surprise you is that I think I'm the one. I'm like the only one who ranked this. Well, I don't know where. I'm going to take a wild guess. I'm the only one who ranked this above the last place.
Oh no, you're not.
Really?
I rank this higher. Richard, however, has a differing opinion.
Oh god, I hate when the spotlight's on me. Get it away.
Okay, so to recap, I'll put them on screen during the montage, but to recap for this particular chat, so from lowest to top, Richard had this at number 17, straight at the bottom. ZDogg had this at number 16, and I had this at number 14.
Oh wow!
So.
Okay. You're more generous on it.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, I'm a little more generous on it.
I mean, I say that, like I said, I want to reiterate this. Like, I don't dislike this episode. I think that's safe to say. It's just, yeah. So,
one of these had to be at the bottom.
That's true. The funny thing is, I think this episode actually now started to grow on me, so it's too late.
Great. Well, too late now. Okay, so Richard. Okay, so Richard, you had this at the bottom. Why don't you start us off on this?
Okay. It's not even a matter of It's not a matter of it's unwatchable, it's bad. It's none of that. It's just I do stand by partially what I said in our discussion for this when this episode came out. I have just never ever been that much on board the hype train that is Michael versus Jason. Maybe it comes down to the fact that I never grew up with these two in the horror genre. I was more of a Freddy Krueger guy, more of a Pennywise guy. Just anything that was supernatural. Anything with human killers just did not intrigue me. So yeah. But then when we get to the actual episode, I actually think the one thing I will appraise is this episode has probably some of the best analysis I've seen, especially with the setting. I think they did a good job with the setting and having it take place in a forest and having the main crew being picked off one by one by a mysterious, shadowy figure that we don't know who it is, but I think we can come to some conclusions on who it is.
Whoever it is, he's out here looking like the Crimson Chin.
Exactly.
This is how we get the Negatron on Death Battle. Let's go! Yeah! Nega Chin versus Eggman Nega. Let's go. Anyway, sorry.
No, it's all good.
Anyways.
But no, I think it just came down to how the fight was structured. I just felt that, once again, it went a way I did not want it to go. I did not want it to focus too heavily on human characters. I know human characters in horror franchise are kind of, they're essential. They go together like peanut butter and jelly, but I feel like there was just not enough time spent with Michael and Jason just beating the shit out of each other. It really was trying to be very ambitious for what it was, and I just was not that all impressed by it. But I will say it did have some things going for it. There was good suspense. There was some great callbacks to their franchise. And I also just very much loved how this set the mood, because it did appropriately come out on Halloween, and I could totally see this working in that setting. But I just feel like it needed some more time. I think it needed extra time to really blossom, but it just didn't do it for me. And I've watched it multiple times, and only now, as I said earlier, now I can start to appreciate it even more, because it's like, you know what? Yeah, this is pretty good. I mean, granted, I'm holding it to impossible high past Halloween-esque episode standards, and it was never unfortunately gonna meet those, because it's Michael and Jason. They don't have any supernatural powers. They don't warp reality. They don't do anything other than we stab people and we kill them in creative ways. I stab somebody with a shotgun through a wall. Oh, I put two people in a beam in a sleeping bag, and I just wail on them repeatedly until they're dead. That's it. So yeah, that's why I put it here. It has nothing to do with it has nothing to do with the idea, although it may have something to do with it. I'm so confused. Again, I can't really fully decide. I guess it just all comes down to I wanted a better Halloween episode.
That's fair enough, man.
ZDogg, any opinions you want to add?
Okay, well, I'll bet this would be better if I could explain my last place choice as well, but assuming that's next, but like, compared to my last place choice, which we will obviously be talking about in a bit, I just had more fun with this. Like, the episode of Last Place obviously isn't bad. When comparing to this episode, I just found the analysis a lot more fun and creative, especially the teleporting gag, and just going over the lore of both characters. And the fight, I did like, although I still stand by what I said in our original podcast talking about it, where it needed more time. The fight is too short to flesh out the relationship between the slashers and the characters well enough, find a balance. But I will say the fight is good. Like, I do like the fight. Like, it does really feel like an old school horror movie. I like a lot of the action we get. Like, I do like this episode. It's just, in comparison to just aside from what I ranked last, everything in the season I just have a stronger attachment to. So.
All right. Well, I guess it's my turn.
That's about as quick as I can. Yeah. Summarize.
So I'm a little bit more. I'm a little bit more positive towards this, I guess, which is kind of funny because I actually watched a few of their movies in the lead up to this, and I was not having the best time. I made a Twitter thread where you can read all about it. I got a good laugh out of my family. I got a good laugh out of my family for that. But anyways, but the episode, okay. I think what's undeniable, like as far as like the one of the best things about this episode, it nails its atmosphere really well. And I said this in when we talked about this last. It's like right down from the analysis is genuinely amazing. And like I know there are some episodes where people are like, oh yeah, this was really good. But for this one in particular, I think what really goes a little what's the word I'm looking for? Underrated, I guess, is the voice acting for the hosts. I know, like, usually it's like, oh yeah, Ben voice Wiz, Chad voice Boomstick, and they do their thing. Like they're hosts. They're not meant to be like these like very deep and insightful characters. I know, I get that. But for this episode especially, it was like, it genuinely felt like they were telling a horror story. It was like, and like Ben especially, like wrapping up the analyses for both of them was like, man, he's really getting into this. But not just that, but the fight, it's creepy. It's got that like ZDogg says, like that old horror aesthetic to it. Right down to having like this flicker going on the like overlaying the animation to kind of make it look like an old movie. I'll agree that they did spend a little bit too much time on the human characters. Like I do wish we saw a little bit more of Jason and Michael going at it, but I will say when they do, it's a lot of fun, and the ending especially is fantastic. Like the end climax, the end death, it's great. Aside from Jason walking off into the horizon, that went on a little too long for me. Yeah. But aside from that, and actually a little detail I noticed. I don't think I kind of doubt this was intentional, but if it was, that's a great detail. It's in regards to the music. The music for this fight, which is pretty good, by the way. When Jason stabs Michael with his machete, the music in the background is playing like this very fast leitmotif of the Halloween theme. And it kind of, listening to it on its own, it was kind of like, I know, knowing where this was played now, I'm like, did they mean for that to go as fast as it was to kind of show that Michael's in danger? Because it's like, it kind of reminded me of like, you know, like when you're playing like a video game and you're like really low on health and there's this like urgent noise blaring at you. It's like, did you know you're low on health and you should fix that?
Fact, get more health.
Yeah. Yeah. It kind of reminded me of that a little bit. I was like, was that intentional? That probably wasn't, but that's a good detail. So yeah, I also think people. I don't know the best way to put this. I think people need to lay off the animation quality a little bit.
Yes.
Like it's not.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, for one, it's not that bad. Like I think people are overreacting a little bit. But also, correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't Devil Artemis going through some really rough patches of his life? While making that. So, and really the only part that I thought was really that bad was the camera at the beginning, like when they started fighting. That's really the only thing that I was like, man, this is a little rough. The rest of it, I'm like, yeah, it's janky, but so is the Friday the 13th game. Like that game is jank as all get out, and no one complains about that. So, so anyways, yeah, yeah, I don't know. I liked it. I understand why it's as low as it is, but as someone who is not a horror fan and definitely wasn't a fan of their movies, at least the ones that I watched anyway. I thought it was fine, really.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's harmless, and I don't want to take away from everyone who enjoyed this episode, because I have seen it has its share of fans around, and it has gained, no pun intended here, a cult following. Yeah. But I do appreciate that somebody can now say, hey, I've been wanting Jason versus Michael for a long time, and now I got it, and I liked it. So I appreciate that there can be people who think this episode was good or it's bad, but I do agree with the points Brobuscus brought up. I've seen worse animation, 3D SFM animation on people who are just getting started out, and I do think at the time, Devil Artemis, who was going through a lot in his life last year, I think he did a good job with what he was able to do. It just comes down to, okay, was it for me? No. Is it for everybody? Well, that's up to you. I mean, if you just take it as it is, which it's meant to be a throwback, like ZDogg hit the nail on the head so perfectly, it's meant to be a throwback to 70s horror films, and this kind of feels like it fits that era. It gets the tone and the atmosphere down, and I can totally see somebody just marathoning some of the best Death Battle Halloween episodes, and this would fit in right perfectly with it.
Yeah. I mean, it's obviously not competing with, like, Dio versus Alucard, but,
yeah, like I said, like, there's some pretty steep competition, but it's good if you want to watch something spooky anytime. So.
Yes, and again, I gotta praise Death Battle for once again having this come out on Halloween. The stars were aligned for this one.
And it being the 13th episode, it had to come out at this point. Yeah. It was great.
Yes.
John, anything you wanna chime in on?
Yeah. Gather around, children. I'm gonna give you a little bit lesson about expectation. Okay. What is executed? Now, when it comes to this fight and doing the boards for it, I had a feeling when going through the script that it was basically written as if it was possible to do it in live action, we could have. Just imagine everything that you've seen in 3D while in live action. You might have a better feel for it because it's more visceral of a scene when things are like more realistic in a tone and so on and so forth. So I understand the type of thing the director was going for when I was doing the boards for it, along with the fact that me and Devil, who were pretty much like the one-man army on both boards and animation on our respective sides, trying to replicate that as best possible, despite what Devil was going through in his life at that time. So I can understand that a lot of pressure was put onto the fact, because if it's other than like Galactus versus Unicron and a bunch of different other like fights, and thankfully Cole versus Alex is one of the big things that people have been asking for. Like Jason versus Michael was that big fight that people were hoping to be a Halloween fight, hoping to be live action, hoping to be this, hoping to be that. And while I accept everybody's entire degree of wanting all these sort of things, sometimes we over at Death Battle just kind of have this vision they want to execute, and that's what they go along with. And again, yeah, it's not for everybody, but it's trying to appeal to a very particular type of crowd, and that is trying to replicate action, the horror movies of back. I think the best I can put is, who here has watched the MonsterVerse Godzilla movies, especially the first one?
Oh yeah,
I have.
Where the biggest criticism with that is that you barely got to see Godzilla.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But when you saw Godzilla, it was awesome.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's what they were trying to go for when it comes to the human characters and these two juggernauts of horror. That once you see them and you see them be awesome, that's like supposed to be the payoff moments. But so again, that's not for everybody, but I think that's part of the vision. I can't put myself in the head of the director.
Right.
But I had fun.
Yeah.
With the fight.
Yeah.
But I do understand why people would mostly put it at the bottom of their list. So I'm with you on that.
Yeah. It's like I said, one of these was bound to be. One of these had to be the worst. And I guess
and this drew the short end.
And the one with a lot of qualifiers would probably have to go at the bottom. Where when you get to like the higher end things, you just have nothing but praise. You don't really need to be like, okay, but if I was in this mindset at this current point in time after 7 days of watching it, then it got good on me.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, on that note, let's move on.
All right.
So what tied this one of all the episodes? what caused this? What caused a tie?
I can think of two.
Well, future editor man, cue the montage for number 16, also with 47 points. Scarlet Witch versus Zatanna.
Wow.
Really? Okay.
Okay.
Interesting.
So this is.
I got
oh dear.
This is my fault. I'll admit.
Really? Really? I thought you would have ranked this one higher than.
Yeah.
No.
Really?
So yeah, it's number 17 for me. Going from. And then ZDogg and Richard both had this at number 15.
Yeah.
So looks like I got some. Looks like I got some splaining to do.
Yes, you do. Go for it.
Well, like I said before, I don't
give your presentation now.
Hey, I like that. Anyways, so like I said at the beginning, this was a hard season to rank. I think all these episodes are enjoyable at the very least. This is probably the one where I'm like, okay, I like it. I want to make that clear. I like this episode. But I think it might also be... I might be mistaken on this, but this is also probably the only one where I have a genuine issue with it. And okay, well, let me get the positives out of the way real fast. The animation's phenomenal. And I think both voice actors go especially underrated because they are amazing. That blood curdling scream that Cassandra does as Wanda when she's going all insane. I'm like, I watched that for the first time. I'm like, damn. And also, I mean, they actually managed to answer the question for me, like who would win in a fight, because I had no idea. The issue that sticks out to me, well, for one smaller thing, I'm not really a big fan of the music. I like the callback, the leitmotif of A Strange Fate. That was neat, but other than that, it's not bad, but it's just kind of okay. It's not one I would listen to on its own. It's actually also, fun fact, this is actually the only track Brandon worked on that doesn't have vocals on it. So, there's your fun fact for you. But I think the major issue for me is the characterization, mostly on Wanda. Zatanna was great. She was a joy to watch in the fight. She's charming. She's endearing. That smile she does at the very end is great. I love it. Wanda, I don't know the best way to put this. Is like, okay, I understand what they were going for. The whole they were portraying her during House of M, because that was the crux of why she lost. Was because both of them are insanely powerful, but one of them has to tap into this specific thing in order to reach that power, and doing so causes her to go insane, whereas the other person doesn't need to worry about that. I think the problem is, and I felt this way about Captain Marvel in both of her fights as well. It's the way they write superheroes as kind of douchebags. Like Wanda shows up, and the first thing she says is, "Wow, you suck." It's like she has no idea what the heck is going on. She doesn't question why she's here. She just looks at this person who just so happens to be a magician, and she's like, "Man, that sucked, didn't it? And I'm like, wow, great, thanks, Wanda. And throughout the entire fight, I understand, like, banter and snarkiness is a thing. I understand that. One of my favorite characters of all time is Tony Stark, for crying out loud. But the thing is that the cockiness and all that about Tony Stark is what makes him an endearing character. Because he starts off as a total jerk to everybody. And throughout the course of his story, he gets better and better and better as a person. With Wanda, that's not the case. Well, I know she goes through, the whole thing with Magneto, and then she's like, oh, you're actually an evil person. We're gonna go join the Avengers. I don't know. Again, I'm not sure the best way I can put this, but it's like, for someone who's supposed to be all heroic, she kind of acts like a douchebag. That's really the best way I can put it. Maybe someone can help me out on that, but yeah, that's basically it for me. Aside from that, it's a solid episode.
Fair enough.
I mean, ZDogg and Richard, you guys had this at an equal
you go ahead, ZDogg.
All right. I don't know. I mean, it's fine. Like it is a very solid episode. I did enjoy learning a lot about Zatanna, and her analysis was actually really fun. I think I definitely like it more than Juan does. And the fight, I don't know. I mean, I can kind of understand why they wanted to characterize Wanda like that, but I honestly didn't have a problem with it. Especially when compared to how just fun and energetic Zatanna is. Both voice actors do a very solid job, I will agree. Music, it's fine. I mean, I'm not going to go out of my way to listen to it like a lot of other tracks this season, but like, it does the job done. It gets the job done. It's fine. And I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't really have a lot to say about it, truth be told. I just think it's fun. I mean, it's solid enough. It gets the job done. It does. The analysis is interesting to listen to. It's fun. It's good. I like it. And also, win for the Z peeps. Let's go. We love to see it.
I kind of agree with ZDogg, although I don't entirely discount what Brobuscus is hitting on. Wanda's characterization in this episode is questionable. Granted, I have never been that attached to Wanda as a character. I've never read any comics with her in them. I know about her.
Oh yeah. To be
who she is.
To be clear, I'm an MCU stan, so that's where my thing with Wanda comes from.
Yeah. I never really cared for Wanda that much. The only time I really found her that enjoyable was in the Superhero Squad cartoon, and that was it. Maybe being voiced by Tara Strong actually helps because, that just makes her even more likable to me. But in this episode, what we're all getting at, and I think what we all have in common about this episode is it is entirely carried on Zatanna's shoulders. She makes this episode pop, not just her analysis, but again, also her voice actress does a great job of just capturing Zatanna's personality. She is so fun, she's so charming, I just love her. I love everything about her, and I root for her. And of course, that little smile she does at the end, that is my personal favorite shot of season 9, just because it encapsulates everything about Zatanna. You just show that picture to Zatanna and you ask them, so what does this tell you about this character? And they can tell you. But I don't want to make it sound like Wanda is not good either, because I very much think her voice actress, and this has nothing to do with the fact that she follows me. I don't go based off of bias. I generally believe her performance is good. She is given some good material. Yes, she comes off very antagonistic, very bitchy, but I can't say I don't understand why, because
I get it.
But it's just, when you have a death battle, generally you're supposed to root for two characters. You're not supposed to just root for one character to kill the other, unless you're super biased, in which case, that's cool. But I like to go off of, okay, who's the underdog in this fight? And realistically, it was Wanda, but the way Wanda was acting, I was kind of just looking at Zatanna as the underdog, because, again, all she did was just accidentally summon her for her show, and then Wanda's like, I'm going to kill you now. But I really think that she delivered some of the best screams for a female combatant, because, again, that scream she does at the end, and that no more noise delivery.
Oh yeah, good lord.
Perfect. Just perfect. But I also do gotta say that the death, while very well built up, I kind of just, I don't know, I can't say I didn't see it coming, but I was kind of hoping for something a little more creative, other than, put her in a wood pine box.
I like the nod.
I really like it. I feel like it's a classic magician's trick.
Yeah.
I like the thing. I think, it could have been more creative, but like, I think what we got was creative enough, and it led to the shot really well, so I can't complain about that.
No, so it's a double-edged sword. On the one hand, I wish it could have been more creative, but on the other hand, it led to that fantastic end shot. So I take what I can get at this point.
The only thing that kind of weirds me out about the death, and it's not even like a big deal, it's just something I find funny, is Zatanna's like, and that's our show, ladies and germs. And like the crowd is cheering over this bisected dead body.
Like, yeah, murder, hell yeah.
Hey man, look, murder is entertaining. We watch it all the time in fiction, so why not?
Of like, that's props, obviously.
Yeah, it's like this is a decent. Assuming this takes place in the DC universe, they've seen far worse than murder.
That's probably true.
Yeah, no, and also too, just gotta say, personal favorite part of this animation that still makes me smile, aside from the end shot that I've praised so many times, is
it the Megamind reference?
Yeah, well, okay, that too, but it's the scene where Zatanna is just juggling those universes.
Yeah, so much.
That was just so fun. I liked that.
Although, I will say, I did forget this, that does kind of bring up another part of why I'm not too fond of Wanda's characterization, is the shot right before that, actually. Okay, for one, I like the line, and I like the delivery of the line, but did she have to crush an entire universe in the palm of her hand like it was nothing? It's like, I feel like she knows, like, yeah, this is a universe, because Zatanna figured it out really easily.
That's why she was just juggling them.
Yeah, but it's like, Wanda just probably destroyed an entire universe and all of its inhabitants in it without a second thought. Whoops.
Whoopsie.
Anyways, whatever. John?
Zatanna versus Scarlet Witch was one of the first real fights that I had the most fun doing, mostly because I like people with the powers they have. I understand the criticisms with the characterization of Scarlet Witch. I think it's just most interpretations of her on the mainstream is always the troubled youth kind of character, where she's always going through some kind of hardship in her life, so she's always being kind of abrasive in an aspect. Not to say that there aren't any moments, like when she's with Vision, when she's always like happy, right?
True.
So it's not like she's voided of any other emotion aside from kind of being a massive dick. But some unseen storytelling here. You know about the whole letterbox thing in the beginning that then gets brought out to the regular aspect ratio.
Yeah.
The whole storytelling in the aspect of it is this is either during House of M or during like a situation of House of M where Scarlet Witch has essentially put everyone inside of a separate dimension of her own creation and they're living out their lives unknowingly. And then Zatanna brought her in.
Okay. That explains so much because that line that Zatanna has, it's like, I know a trick when I see one. I'm like, what does she mean by that?
And then she figures out that she's always been in this weird dreamlike realm, and she gets out of it by reaching into the real reality, and then finding her the rest of the way there. When she comes back into the real reality, the reason why the people are cheering of the death is because they're now out of the existential nightmare, as explained in the WandaVision show, where they're just captured instead. Now, obviously, that's not 100% confirmed. Just take it with a grain of salt. That is
Sure.
That is what I got when reading the script and doing the boards itself, and that's the main thing that makes sense to me.
Yeah, that makes really sense. Yeah, I get you.
Yeah. But I also would put this. I would have kind of also put this fight in the bottom 10, in the bottom before, and not in the top 10. I guess the best way to put that.
Yeah.
Myself understanding that it has its upsides, but it could be way more like out there because these characters are the kind of characters that can just warp reality just by thinking hard enough, you know?
Right.
Yeah. Get more ridiculous, but I think I like what the universe has brought to the table, and the whole juggling sequence is my favorite.
Yeah.
But there you go. Okay, I do have a question before we move on, though.
Go for it.
Was the Megamind reference actually part of the script, or did you improvise that?
Okay, so it was part of the script, and it was specifically when I read it in the script and we talked about it during one of the meetings, I'm like, is that intentional? And they're like, yes.
That's amazing. Okay, I just didn't know.
That's funny. It's funny you say that because Liam said, I'm not trying to like disprove anything. I'm just like going off of what I've heard. Liam had said like when he wrote it, he didn't mean anything by it, but then he was like, have I heard that somewhere? And then during the meetings for the writing, they were like, oh yeah, that was in Megamind, wasn't it? And he was like, oh yeah, cool.
I have a hard time believing Liam, of all people, would unironically not know about Megamind.
Yeah. Well, I know. Well, I mean, he obviously knows about Megamind, but my thought process when I saw it was like, when we talked about this before, it was like, okay, I can probably buy like it being a coincidence during writing, but during like they kept it in, and like during like animation and whatnot, there's these like the shot is perfect. There's blue magic effects going on behind it. I'm like, okay, like maybe it started off intentional but unintentional, but they just rolled with it.
That was great.
Anyways, okay, we should move on. So number 15, with 45 points. Cue the montage. Boba Fett versus the Predator.
Okay, yeah, this is what I was expecting to be lower. Oh boy. Okay.
So, going from top to bottom again, who had this at the bottom? It was ZDogg. This is ZDogg's number 17. Funny how our number 17s are the bottom three. Go figure.
What do you know?
Then we got Richard at number 16, and then myself at number 12. So, I'm a little...
All right.
I'm probably one of this episode's biggest fans, but ZDogg, kick us off.
All right, kicking it off. I've noticed a trend thinking about it last night before. The episodes I rank at the bottom, I don't outright hate. I just find them boring in comparison to the other episodes this season. Like, and not to say this episode isn't completely boring. Like, I do like a lot about it. Like, the animation is well done. Like, there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. There's a lot of cool shots, especially the freaking "You're Mine" Predator when Boba gets his arm cut off. Him cauterizing with a lightsaber is really cool. I really appreciate. I'm glad the ugly motherfucker line got kept in. Just in comparison to everything else this season, I just found everything else more interesting, honestly. Like I said when talking about Jason Michael, like, I just find that analysis and the fight a lot more intriguing and interesting, and same with Wanda Zatanna and everything else above it. So there's absolutely nothing wrong with this episode. I still do like it. It's just I do think it is the weakest, in my opinion, of season 9, just because I just find it the least interesting out of the ones we have so far, out of the season 9 episodes. So that's that's about as best I can put. So
I'm more or less the same, although once again, like Jason and Michael, I have warmed up to this episode. I did initially not like it at first, and it had nothing to do with how the animation was. This is kind of like the reverse of Michael and Jason for me, whereas Michael and Jason had a great analysis and an overall okay-ish animation. This had an okay-ish analysis, but it had a much better animation. So it's really hard to fully just digest both of them, but I think the reason why I put it slightly above Michael versus Jason is because there's the familiarity with Star Wars and Predator. I love Star Wars. I love the Predator franchise. Yes.
Yeah, I know, that's kind of hard to tell.
Yes, I'm very subtle. But I just was not a fan of them bringing back Boba Fett again. Without doing anything completely new. And to their credit, they did do something completely new. They did mention what is going on currently in the Disney canon, where Boba Fett is now a crime lord who doesn't want to be Yeah, that. And you know he's getting one shot by Mando over there for 2 episodes, and all the other shit that has nothing to do with him. But Anyways, that's me. That's me talking about his own show. I apologize. But I just was not a fan of his analysis. You know, I liked that they include some stuff, but again, just it felt like a repeat of the other 2 episodes, and I just wasn't feeling it. John Yatcha's analysis.
I can't believe we're sticking with John Yatcha.
Yeah, well, that's what everybody has called him, and I'm gonna respect their wishes.
Admit.
But John Yatcha's analysis, I thought was okay. I was a little put off that they just did a compile version of Predator at his absolute peak instead of just maybe using one specific Predator. But whatever the case, the analysis was just okay to me. Nothing really nothing really popped out. And then the animation. I think the animation is very good. It actually captures the suspense of Predator very well. Arguably, I like the suspense here more than I do Michael and Jason. Again, I preferred Predator, but whatever. I just, on the other hand, though, it just went by too quick. I think that's this animation's biggest problem is it just feels like it's just rushing through everything. Nothing really feels like there's any tension. Even that end where you do see Boba Fett hovering over John Yatcha as he's about to, do the thing we all knew he was going to do. And then he inexplicably survives somehow. There's no explanation. There's no nothing. I just feel like an extra couple of seconds would have helped flesh out that ending much more better. But I do like how they incorporated all of their weapons. I do like the scene where Boba Fett, he uses his 360 vision to spot the Predator from a distance. I, of course, love the cauterizing the wound with the lightsaber. And I just like the idea of a showdown between somebody who doesn't have the Force against a Predator. I love the mano-a-mano fights. It was great. But other than that, yeah, no. I had a lot more to work with in this episode, but I will just say I think it could have used even more time to maybe make it even better than it already was. Also, I'm not a fan of Boba Fett saying you are one ugly motherfucker, because then that just implies that, oh yeah, curse words that we use here on Earth, they exist in the Star Wars universe, and I don't like that. I like when they can be creative with their own curse words. But, yeah, that's it.
Okay, well, I guess, yeah, I really am this episode's biggest fan, huh?
Out of us, the apples.
Yeah, because, I mean, I personally really like this episode. I'll agree that the analysis isn't anything special. I like the Like a Bantha jab because of Billy. I saw that for the first time. I'm like, Billy. I saw that for the first time. I'm like, Billy's gonna have a field day with this one.
And he did.
And he did.
Actually.
Oh, that's very funny.
No, I didn't mean that to be a rep. Anyway.
Anyways, the fight definitely is where this episode shines the most, because for one, it's gorgeous.
Oh yeah.
Like, this is arguably one of the most like visually pleasing fights of the season. I mean, we have more. I'll say that much. But I mean, I don't really know what I can really say about this. I don't mind the curse. I don't really care that much. I thought it was funny the first time I watched it. I don't know. Like, if anybody in Star Wars is gonna swear like that, it's probably. I guess it makes sense for it to be Boba Fett. But, I like the use of their different weapons. The staff fight was really good. Super well choreographed and basically no jank whatsoever, which is interesting. There's also some like small details. Like, I noticed it when I watched it like just the other day. Like some of the like stuff that would probably be stationary in any other animation. It moves around pretty much all the time here. Boba Fett's little cloth thing that he wears on his shoulder, I forget what that's for, but anyways. The Predator's tendrils, I think that's what they're called. I don't know, my brain is not working today, but
no, you're right.
Okay, cool. Yeah, they're always moving. Like there's like one shot where they're not moving at all, and it's when Predator's throwing the smart discs, but that's literally it. I think that's really good attention to detail. I also agree, cauterizing the severed arm with a lightsaber goes hard. Boba Fett with the lightsaber in general goes hard. It went hard in the Fett Samus remaster, and it goes hard here. I don't mind the ending. I know a lot of people have a problem with it, but I don't mind it that much. I think the music is a little underrated. It's fun to listen to. And what's also underrated, or at least what I don't see a lot of discussion on anymore, is Cameron Nekod as Boba Fett. He
did. I will admit he does do a really good job with the few lines he has.
Yeah, I like the detail that he has only 5 lines, which is how many lines he had in the entire sequel trilogy, or the original trilogy, I mean. I like that. I think that was fun.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I had a lot of fun with this one. It's kind of like, I didn't have this like amazingly high or anything, but it's kind of upsetting to me that it's not a favorite amongst the rest of the community.
I mean, I think that is all, like I said, just a testament of how stacked this season was. So
I guess that's true. But even with that in mind, though, I see a lot of people actually like more so talking about the negative aspect of this fight. rather than most positives. Like they mentioned, like the fight looks pretty. They mentioned the music is neat, and yeah. Anything else is just kind of a case by case thing, and everybody complains about the ending.
I mean, okay, I can kind of understand why, and I will say this does have my least favorite death of the year, but like, I don't know. I mean, I get the complaints, but I think it works well enough, and I mean, I makes sense for a Predator episode to go out via his detonation, but yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't have a problem with the death. I mean, again, I knew it was coming. It's just a matter of...
They weren't going to end a Predator fight any other way.
Yeah, exactly. I just wanted more to show us how Boba Fett survived. That's it. It has nothing to do with the death itself. It's just maybe a couple of extra seconds showing him finding a way to get away from the bomb blast. That was all I really wanted. I don't know. I've seen people place this slightly higher than where we placed it, so I don't really feel like... I mean, it's either this or it's Omni-Man versus Homelander, but I have seen people make a good case for this episode being slightly higher on their list, so it must have its fans out there. It's just, yeah, they just don't like it. Again, I don't understand how you couldn't like this on paper, because again, it's two bounty hunters who are the best at what they do going against each other, but it's also Star Wars meets Predator. That is something that we're unfortunately, until now, never gonna get. So I don't know. I feel like, yeah, this is an underrated fight. And who knows, maybe as time goes on, maybe more people will warm up to it and see it as a hidden gem amongst a huge pile of gold that we have stacked.
True.
Yeah. Here's hoping.
All right, John, what's your take on this?
It's time for me to make it so you either hate this fight more or like it a little bit better. When it comes to the grievances in this fight, and that mostly pertains to the ending, I saw a lot of people not like the fact that John Yaksha is about to kill Boba Fett by slamming the scythe down, and he just suddenly stops because he can't apparently see him thanks to the fire.
Yeah.
And they point out that he should be able to see him due to the lightsaber being hot enough to be seen by the thermal vision, since it's hotter than the rest of the fire. And on that point, that's what made me personally not like this fight, because I was actually going to do something about that in my boards, but I decided against it because I didn't know if I had the authority to go over not do what the script was telling me to do. Because I was gonna have it so that when he falls down to the ground, he deactivates the lightsaber and rolls out of the way, and then he follows through with that slash just to get that out of the way. But I decided against it because the script said to do this, and usually I don't like to go against the director's vision. I guess even if I personally don't like it, it's not usually my call. Sometimes my boards are able to change certain things in a fight, and we can get to that in one of the fights later down this list. I can tell you that much. But when it comes to this fight and how the ending played out, I blame myself for not trying to make it a little bit more clear sometimes, but I understand that it's how it was supposed to be. But here's like the extra bit of side thing. So when it comes to the self-destruct device, it's the wrist gauntlet, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
You notice that Boba Fett has his arm. It has John Yaksha's arm when he's walking out of the explosion, right?
Mm-hmm.
The arm that he sliced with the lightsaber is the one with the wrist gauntlet on, meaning that Boba Fett went to the wrist gauntlet, took it off as it was counting down, threw it maybe, and then took the arm. So he actually took that much time to get away from the area since he was hell-bent on taking that arm.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's good, badass, or dumb. I don't know.
Maybe all the above.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
But yeah, this fight was definitely something. I do believe that when it comes to animation, it's I guess if you want to compare it to like the animation you see in Jason versus Michael, it definitely is a step up, even though it had some of the same people working on it, that being Devil with Dugat and all them. So yeah, you can clearly see the difference in time put into it with a team compared to Devil doing it by himself, and that's what makes it most impressive when you see Devil able to pull off an entire animation by himself.
Yeah, well, we'll definitely be jumping back to this later. Yeah. All right. Well, to not dwell on this for too long.
And rest in peace, John Yacha. You lived a king. Anyway.
Maybe John Yacha will come back.
One day. When the world needs him most. Anyway, next.
Anyways. All right, so next one, number 14. It's funny because these bottom four actually kind of went a little bit as predicted for me. Maybe with a slightly different order, but
Okay.
Number 14 with 39 points. Montage, please.
If you're looking for someone to save you, I'm here now, it's all alright. If you're searching for some kind of breakthrough, I promise to be that light. If you're looking for someone to save you, I'm here now, it's all
Deku versus Asta.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah. Okay. So where did we all rank it? Is the question
Okay,
now.
so Richard had this exactly at number 14, which is funny to me.
Yeah.
I had this at 13, ZDogg at 12. So
Almost
it averages out.
Yeah, that makes enough sense. All right.
Richard, you're kicking us off, I guess.
Okay. Well, it's funny you say that because originally this was number 12 on my list, but when I accidentally forgot that we were counting the bonus episode, I was like, crap. And I was like, damn it. So I had to make a hard call. And at the end of the day, I was like, you know what? I think it suits at number 14. It's not bottom tier level, but it's not high tier. I think it's just right there in the middle for me. But I do enjoy this episode. I would actually say that amongst the endless amount of controversy that this episode accumulated back
remind me.
When this episode was announced, I was willing, because again, I do not just hop on a bandwagon. I give an episode a chance, and I give it its due. And I will say that despite this being number 14 on my list, that does not mean that I don't like it. I do, in fact, like it. I like it more than the other two, because it does have a character that I like, I've grown to love, and that's Deku. But it also has a character that I have no experience with, and that's Asta in Black Clover. But, that all being said, I enjoyed the analysis. I think they did a good job covering where these two are at their current point in times, and even going as far as to include recent stuff that has been done with them. I liked that. And yeah, the analysis, I'm gonna be doing this a lot, but it's just not as good as the past MHA crossover episodes we've had in Death Battle. But that being said, the animation picks up the slack. I really, really love this animation. I think it is probably the best way to go out for Season 9. It's not as good as last year, 2 years ago's penultimate episode, but I thought it was good in its own right. There's a lot to like. I barely had anything to complain about, maybe aside from the obvious ending. I love Deku's tactical strategies being at play here. I like, from what I understand, correct me if I'm wrong, Asta's own way of fighting and how he portrays himself in a fight. And I love the music. The music is kick-ass. The voice acting is very, very good. I swear that these two voice actors did such a good job of capturing both these two, at least as far as English dub is concerned. But yeah, and there were just so many great things that this episode had to offer, especially the callback to All Might versus Might Guy, with Deku beat for beat saying the exact same thing that All Might said, except with his own added punch to it. And
literally.
Yes, literally. But then again, the ending comes in, and I don't like it. Now, I have read into it. I do like how the ending shows us that Deku, at this point, is already dead. Like, even before the killing blow comes in, he's pretty much dead. He's used up all of his power. His body cannot live anymore because of the amount of power he's just used. And the last thing that he does is he has a smile on his face because he thinks he won. And I think that's a good thing. I like that. That's very much in character. But then you have Asta on the ground, and the camera just pans up. You see his swords hovering in the air, and then they just come down out of nowhere. There's no build-up. There's no nothing. It's just sudden. They come down. They squash him. That's it. I feel like they should have just kept it to where you don't see the swords in the air, and you don't see Asta. You just... You hover on that shot with Deku, and then the swords come down, he's dead, you reveal Asta is indeed alive, and he's the victor. And then you have that amazing after-credit scene with Hercule. But, yes, I am this episode's biggest defender. I agree, it wasn't what people wanted, but I think it did good. I legit think this was a good episode. And that's it.
Alright, well with that, it's my turn.
Yep.
Which is funny because that is a line from Deku. Anyways, yeah, I mean, I didn't want to be reminded of the amount of controversy that this episode got when it was announced, but here we are. Amongst all that, though, I was surprised to hear about it at first, but I was like, I mean, okay, sure. Like it brings Deku in, it brings Asta in, and yeah, sure, whatever. I don't know a lot about the other guy, so I can work with this, whatever. It just kind of caught me off guard because I see Deku requested all the time, and I see, like, you know, your Gons, your Mileses, your Kamalas,
Rubies.
I don't want to talk about Ruby. Anyways, that's
yeah, but
yeah.
A lot of opponents. That's the
yeah,
point.
basically what I'm trying to say. And with Asta,
if you breathe, you are probably an opponent for Deku.
Yeah, pretty much. But amongst all that, and amongst the what the crap that the preview got, especially because. My gosh, apparently Asta comparing Deku to Luck just got so many people pissed off for some reason. Anywho, amongst all that, I still think this is a good episode. The analysis doesn't do a lot for me, but it's fine. It does justice to both characters, I'd say. At least, well, I mean, I can speak for Deku, at least, so there's that. And the fight was fun. I agree with Richard that the voice acting was superb. To this day, I still have concerns over the lung capacity of Michael Kovac. I also agree that the music is fantastic. The perfect blend of both Mighty and Marvel for All. Both stellar tracks, and it combines together to make another stellar track. Who would have guessed? Yeah, I mean, honestly, a lot of what I can say about this is kind of mirroring what Richard said. It's like, I like the voice acting, I like the music, I like the animation overall. I'm not terribly fond of the death, although I'm a little bit more open to it than I first was, because I also read into the idea was that that final punch Deku had essentially killed him. So I was like, oh, well, okay, that makes it a little better. But I also agree that the Asta basically adding insult to injury was a little out of nowhere. Yeah, and I too really liked the cameo of Hercule, and to this day I still wish Kagi did a reaction to it so he could be reminded that that is an episode he recorded for. Anyways, I don't know. I could say I don't think there's more I could say on this matter. Fun episode. That's really all I got.
All right. So my turn now. Okay, listen. Despite the fact it did talk Miles Deku again, and I'm still a little salty about that. Putting that aside, I don't know. I'll be honest. On the rewatch, I put this episode a few spots higher than I expected to. And I guess one thing that differentiates you guys, I actually really like the analysis. Deku's especially. Like Deku's analysis was really good, honestly. Just it's short, but it's sweet. It goes into the details of his character, his other quirks. It's a really good analysis in my opinion, especially for someone who's a fan of Deku. Asta's was fine as well. I mean, it went over Black Clover well enough. I can't complain about that. I enjoyed hearing about it. Maybe it went on for a little too long, but oh well. Yeah, I don't know. I just really like it. And the fight, I really like Deku's characterization. I don't know. There's just a lot of cool stuff in the fight that I really like. Of course, I don't know if I give enough credit in the original recording, but Strongest Alive freaking slaps. The more I listen to it, the more I really like it. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, this might just be a biasing, considering Deku is my second favorite character of all time. I just really enjoyed seeing him shine, even if he lost. Doesn't mean the episode's perfect. I mean, well, first of all, animation was really solid. There was a lot of cool moments. I really liked and a lot of raw lines, especially from Asta. Yeah, I don't know. I just overall just I don't know. It's really good. I mean I don't obviously it's not my favorite My Hero episode so far. Might exist. There are problems. I will agree. I concur. The death. I do appreciate that Deku did die before the swords came in, made it a little less painful. But also, the more I hear about it, the more I don't like that Asta did it, especially since I've heard it's really out of character for him to do so. But I mean, I don't know. I'm mixed on it. It doesn't affect my enjoyment of the episode too much. I don't know. I just, again, might be a little biased because character bias, but I just really like. I don't know. It's just a fun watch all around. I'm happy. Deku got his time in the sun, so I hope he fights Miles. And yeah, I don't know. It's nice. And analysis is really good. And of course, the Mr. Satan cameo is godlike. Yeah, I don't know. I'm sure I would probably change my mind if I ever get around to watching Black Clover, though, because
yeah.
But I don't know. Just as of now, I just think it's a really fun watch with one of my favorite characters doing a lot of cool things, and yeah, that's about all I can say about it.
Well, cool.
So, yeah.
Well,
all right.
When it comes to the controversies of who should be fighting who, Deku versus this person and Asta versus this person, I'm not going to touch any of that. I draw the fights. I don't decide them. I will say I understand but I will also preface that I think this was even said on Twitter by Luis at this one point. in Death Battle, pretty much any fight in existence is possible to do at any other point in time, just give it enough time for us to get to it. So it's not like this is the last time you're ever going to see Deku, this is the last time you're ever going to see Asta. You can probably get those fights you're asking for in the future. I know it sucks to wait, but hope is hope. As for the fight itself, it was fun to board because when it comes to like two anime boys trying to punch each other or slice at each other, it's pretty much my forte at this juncture. So it was pretty. It came naturally to me to do this one. As for the characterization and the small bit of controversy of Asta comparing Deku to Luck. Well, I may not be the biggest fan of Black Clover. In fact, I've only did minor research when getting into this fight because I wanted to know how to do their characters justice. I do know Luck is the speedy boy because his whole thing is the lightning magic and thunder god magic and stuff like that. So, and people in Black Clover are basically beyond light speed. So and in the analysis they said that Deku can only kind of be scaled lightly to light speed. So I can understand the hardcore versus guys saying that that's not accurate, but it's just a line from us. But I don't have to take it that far.
Yeah, it's just a cute little thing that they share a voice actor. That's it.
And you say that like it's not really the hardcore versus debaters. They're at least in the Death Metal Discord. At least in the Death Metal Discord, they're chill about it. It's the Black Clover community on Twitter that's especially bad. And like one of the arguments I heard, this is coming from someone who doesn't know a lot about Black Clover, is Luck basically turns himself into lightning. And I'm like, okay, cool. Guess what? Deku's faster than lightning. So,
but here's the thing: it's the magic lightning and the magic like super special. You have to. It's specifically.
Okay.
Yeah, but this is it. When we get deeper into it, it's like in the end, dude, they're both fictional characters. Can we just have fun with it?
Please, really?
Exactly.
Yes.
But to get to the ending, when you going back to like Scarlet Witch versus Zatanna and how you said you didn't like the characterization of Scarlet Witch, I understand people not like the characterization of Asta, especially at the ending, because that is deeply out of character. Asta is sort of like a Luffy and Naruto, where they would only go as far as the fight needs to go until they basically stop. Just imagine after the end of a fight, Luffy just gear thirds a giant fist and then pummels the dead body. That's not something that you would expect him to do. So to have Deku essentially show that he's already dead, and then have Asta essentially just mutilate the corpse it would leave anyone who actually like Asta as a character, and no one who actually doesn't like Asta, doesn't know anything about Asta, give him in a negative light. If I could have changed this, it probably would have been more along the lines of you have this situation where Deku dies in the air, and instead of having the swords come down and kill him, you show that Asta is calling his swords down to catch his body before it hits the ground. Respectively, allowing him to. He already won. There's no reason to push any further, and also showing the respect of his opponent, because that's what Asta also is. He respects strong people, and that's hindsight 2020 on that front. So better for next time when something like this happens. And all in all, understand. Well, just like the other ones down here in this list, I understand why this is kind of like in the middle of the road. Should be not in the top 10 type of fight. So once again, I'm in agreement here.
Yeah. I will say though, I do also, I know Richard said it, but I will say I also do appreciate the call back to Mighty as well. That's a really nice touch.
Yeah.
So just real quick, wanted to say that as well.
One thing I think it's okay to say here is that usually when it comes to like the fights and the fight music is made when I'm done with my boards, and the music is tied to either the boards or the fight when it's done. So whenever you have a moment that fits really well, it's because they really wanted to tie it in with that moment of fight. And considering that we already had All Might in here, it would be a crime not to introduce.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially with how closely related All Might's character is to Deku's. Yeah. Yeah. Also, I mean, I didn't really want to mention this, but if we're talking about controversy again, when this fight came out, like we talked about like when this was announced, and then when the preview came out. But when it came out, when the whole episode came out, one thing I saw from a lot of reaction videos that made like no sense to me was like, harkening back to the ending, it was Asta's swords being like finally impaling Deku, and they couldn't cut him up earlier. It's like, oh wait, so now they can cut through them? I'm like, my guy, they are giant swords coming down at like light speed.
Against a body that has been beaten and bruised at this point, so even the durability argument, it's already been like a long fight, and people misinterpret it, understandably, because they didn't really go deep into it in the analysis. They do not cut people, but they are still blunt objects. If you stab someone hard enough with a bat, you will go through them. It's like, it's like there's probably a million different examples of people stabbing people with like a metal pole. So like it's basically the exact same thing. We mentioned like when we were talking about Jason vs. Michael. Michael stabbed a woman through a wall with a shotgun. It's like, it's like, yes, that can happen. Like blunt objects, especially objects that big, coming at you that fast. They're gonna go through you. Anyways, well, enough of that. I think we are safe to move on. This is where the unpredictability really started for me.
Oh boy.
Because like when before we even like put the list together, I was like, okay, so I have a good feeling of like these episodes are probably going to be near the top, if not the absolute top. These episodes are probably going to be near the bottom, if not the very bottom. The rest, I was like, what are we gonna do? I was like, what's gonna happen? And this is kind of that cutoff point. I'm like, this was like uncharted territory for me. With that said, number 13. I will let the montage play for number 13 with 34 points. Oh, I forgot to mention Deku vs. Asta at 39. Anyways, Hercules vs. Sun Wukong.
Oh wow! Dang. A first mythology to all this. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I want to give a big apology because this is my fault.
Oh gosh.
So I guess to rip the Band-Aid off, this was my number 15. Then Richard at 11 and ZDogg at 8.
Yep.
So,
Explain.
I need to do some explaining. Okay. Well, one thing I will say is that I do greatly appreciate them going out of their way to like get out of their comfort zone a little bit. Finally tackling mythology. Like when I saw this announced, I was like, "Wait, what?" I was like, "Okay, so this is the thing we're doing now." And again, to be fair, the episode is still good. I think where I stand on this is that once again, it's like the fight kind of carries it because the analysis, it's fun, but it doesn't really hit a lot of notes for me. Like it doesn't like stand out, you know? It's like, again, it's like it's cool that they tackled mythology, and the editing especially had to go all out because these two don't have a lot of visual media. And the fight, it's fun. It's one of those cases where it's like, yes, I enjoyed it, but I also kind of enjoyed these other episodes more. It's like, and there's nothing really I can say as to why. It's just, yeah, it was a fun episode. The animation's neat. I like the idea of it being like a storytelling sort of thing. Like with the muse and everything. Christian Young does a great job in that department. I like the overall aesthetic, the scratch paint sort of thing, the ink effects that were ripped straight out of Street Fighter. That was neat. The voice acting was really good. The fight was enjoyable. I love when Sun had like transformed into like had like multiple arms and multiple heads. And Heracles was like, "Huh, multiple heads, of course." That was great. I will say I don't like the ending. I don't hate it like a lot of other people do, but I do wish the idea that Heracles' god form getting blasted apart like it did was a little bit more clear, so that it doesn't outright it doesn't feel like the narrator is outright saying like who won before we see a death. But once you get the picture, the ending is fine. I've seen more people complain like about Sun like saying what happened, like Sun's lines like, "Oh, look at that! I struck him so hard he was reduced to nothingness." I saw people complaining about that. It's like, "Oh, thanks for telling us that," even though we already saw it. And I'm like, "Okay, so you're grasping, got it." I don't know. This episode is fun. I hope they do mythology again in the future.
Same.
But it's kind of clear to me that this is a first time go at it. And that's not to say that's a bad thing, but that's just how it be. Fine episode. I just like the other ones more.
I was very excited for this episode when it first came out. I have grown up on the myth of Heracles, and I watched some of the Disney. I watched the Disney cartoon. I watched the Disney movie. I also read about Heracles here and there in passing, but I've also discovered a lot about Sun Wukong and how most of the the popular anime characters were based off him or inspired by him in some way or another. And
right down to his Japanese name being Son Goku.
Yes.
Gee, wonder where that came from.
Exactly. Of course, I'm very excited for the Black Myth Wukong game that is coming out next year. God, I wish it was this year. And the best thing this episode did for me to get excited into researching or learning more about Sun Wukong is finally watching the highly underappreciated Monkey Kid animated series.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, which has a huge all-star English cast. Sokka as the main protagonist, Sean Schemmel as Sun Wukong appropriately, Patrick Seitz, just a bunch of other awesome voice actors. But this episode as a whole, I very much liked it. Again, like Brobuscus said, I love how this was the season of experimenting and how they stepped out of their comfort zone and got out of fiction and into mythology. I think that that's very good. And granted, this episode does have its faults, its flaws, but I love it. I love how they told the stories for both characters. They did a good job just recapping what these characters have been through and where they ended up in their current point of time. And with a lack of visual medium, they obviously had to make up for that by just essentially telling you a story because I think that's the main highlight of this episode. It feels like a story being told to you. It doesn't feel like a conventional episode where they're just recapping and putting stats on the characters. And then the animation just doubles down on that. I love that it's all taking place on a scroll. I love the Japanese ink. I love the narration. Both actors do a great job portraying the characters, although I feel like Heracles was a bit he was a bit stiff, a bit just I don't know how to fully describe the word I'm looking for, but it just felt like he was very one-dimensional, whereas Sun Wukong, in comparison, he's a fucking ball of joy. Like, he's just having the time of his life, and I loved their banter and their interactions. And yeah, although the ending, I don't mind it. I do not agree with everybody that has said it is the worst death of the season, but I can understand where they're coming from. I was a bit taken aback by what just happened myself, but once I rewatched it again, I understood what the point was. But I do feel like, maybe there could have been something creative to do with that death. But other than that, I liked this episode. Obviously, it's at number 11, so it didn't crack the top 10, but that is a testament of what Brobuscus said. There were just other episodes that I liked surprisingly more than this episode, and this episode came right after my number 1 pick. So, yeah, but still, a great episode, and I agree with Brobuscus. I hope they do more, because I really want to see them tackle not just mythology, but maybe pulp heroes, and just other types of fiction than just, cartoons, anime, video games, and etc.
All right. So, every year I just feel like there's a few matchups I cannot believe this happened. That is definitely this one. Like, we absolutely deserve to get mythology on the show, but and obviously Heracles was the best first choice. But man, I can't believe this is a thing. But honestly, this is definitely a very worthy first choice for a mythology matchup, and I'm very happy with it. I like the analysis. Hearing about going them deep into Greek and Chinese mythology was really neat to see. Fight has a very beautiful aesthetic. I absolutely love the scroll aesthetic, and I really hope that the other fights continue it. There's a lot of good in this episode. Like, the voice acting was amazing. All three did very good in their role. There's a lot of fun stuff happening in it. They do a lot of fun stuff with the choreography, especially with Wukong's transformations. And okay, I am actually going to defend the death a little. The narration could have been tweaked a little bit so that it didn't spoil it. But honestly, I am kind of glad that this was our death. One, because, well, it's beautiful, all the calligraphy aesthetic, English, was very, very good. They kept that in with the death. But also just tasteful, especially to those who may still be practicing, to those who still practice Buddhism. Having their character kill like that in a very bloody way, I don't think would have been taken over well. So I am glad they went for a more tasteful route with the death, honestly. I don't know. I mean, I just really enjoy a lot about this episode. Very fun aesthetic, very fun analysis, very fun voice acting, very fun everything. I don't know. I just really like it. And I do agree that I really hope it leads to more mythology matchups in the future and other forms of media in the future. So, yeah.
Zeus versus Odin, cowards. No, I'm just kidding. That's literally the first one that came to my mind, because that's kind of become the big one now that this one's out of the way.
Yeah.
So John, do you want to add any input?
Well, when it comes to this one, I don't really have that much of an input other than I was happy we were able to do a mythology fight because Sun Wukong was one of my favorite. I did reports on this dude back in school. That's how much I appreciate the poem and stuff, and just the entire mythology around that. Hercules was also pretty cool as well because Greek mythology, while people can argue that Greek mythology has been kind of oversaturated at this point with a lot of different things going over Greek mythology in every single way or form. Happy we were able to do it ourselves in this way. As for the death, I understand some people's grievances with it, and I actually, when doing it myself, I did not even see the problems, to be perfectly honest. They had to be pointed out to me via the reaction videos. It's like, yeah, the narrator does kind of just spoil it before you get back to the scroll, huh? And he does just kind of just outright state what he did when we just saw what happened, huh? But that didn't really bother me.
I know, it's fine.
Yeah, Sun saying what happened after, like that does not bother me at all.
Oh, yeah, considering that if you know anything about Sun Wukong, he kind of like that sometimes. He just sort of is a free-spirited dude. He's like, oh, I guess I did that. Neat. Anyway.
Yeah.
Off I go.
Yeah. Nothing really of input that I would say it was like, oh man, we were trying to change something, or man, I wanted to change something. No. Everything in the script that I did with my boards were pretty much 1-to-1. It's just a well-written fight, in my opinion. I can't really speak much when it comes to the analyses and stuff like that. That's a completely separate writing team and stuff like that.
Right.
So if the episode gets dragged down on that aspect, that's all on y'all's opinion. But when it comes to like the fights, that's when I have to really get into it because that's what I'm in charge of. I need to make sure that. But yeah, I'm happy y'all like it enough to at least put it near in like smack dab in between top 10 and bottom 5, you could say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So hey, if you didn't hate me already, you're gonna hate me for this next one.
Oh boy.
Yeah. Oh man.
Because this next one's also my fault.
Oh no.
I can only apologize. So number 12 with 32 points. Harley Quinn versus Jinx.
Oh, okay. Okay. Dang. Okay. That makes.
Not what I was thinking.
No, that's not what I was thinking either. So I'm still a little bit, but oh well.
Oh, I have explaining to do. This is my number 16.
Wow.
For how much I praised this episode when it first came out, man, how the turntables.
Have table turn.
Let's see. Richard had this at number 12, and ZDogg all the way up at number 4.
I had this at number 4. Oh dear. Yeah, I really like this episode, but you guys go first.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I think the thing for me is that, because like when it first came out, I loved this episode. And again, I do still like this episode. But I think the big thing about it was, adrenaline, really. Because like watching through the fight for the first time, it had a lot of like big moments. I think Richard put it best when we last discussed this. I think he like something along the lines of like this is like a popcorn flick. And I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. But the thing is that hype and adrenaline for popcorn flicks can only last so long. And I think this being the premiere, while not its own fault, it kind of means that the adrenaline I felt from this when I first watched it kind of wore off. And now I watch it again, and I'm like, yeah, it was fine. I mean, it looks pretty. It looks beautiful, actually. Both Felicia and Elsie do a fantastic job in their roles. The music is great. The analysis is fine. I do like them going into Harley's post-Joker life. And the kind of splitting off between League of Legends and Arcane was really interesting. Yeah, I really think a lot of the initial feelings I had while watching this is just kind of worn off over time, which is probably why it's this low. But I don't know. Again, like we said before, my opinion could very easily be swayed by tomorrow. So we shall see. But yeah, overall, it's a fun fight. It's kind of a similar thing with Heracles versus Wukong. It's like, fun fight. I just like the other ones more. That's really it.
Yeah, okay, so I obviously put this higher, but I can see where Brobuscus is coming from, but I'm kind of like the somewhat close opposite of him. I do still feel the adrenaline in this, but I do stand by my initial statement that I did state back when we talked about it. It very much is a popcorn fight. It's an entertaining popcorn fight. And I don't mind having popcorn at a movie theater here and then, or just watching a movie in general, but there is sometimes you want to have something more. Like, you want to go to the concession stand and just get something else besides popcorn. But with that being said...
Sorry to interrupt, but did I forget to mention that I don't like Harley Quinn?
You actually did forget to mention that, so...
that might also be another factor, I don't know. Anyways, continue.
No, it's okay. Yeah, no, well, that's a funny segue, because my relationship with Harley Quinn as a character has been mixed over time. I either like her or I don't like her. And God knows her third season of her ongoing show made that go right back to how it started. It's complicated. But I did love learning about Jinx. I've never played League of Legends. So I'm happy that Billy actually got to come on board and not only direct this episode, but also Ringmaster got to get involved and give us the rundown and even drop some lore that, oh yeah, him and Boomstick, they used to play League of Legends back in their college days. So
yeah, that was fun.
That was kind of cool. Yeah, and then they switch over to Arcane, and I feel like they had a good balance there. Harley's analysis was just straightforward, but I do like how they ended it with, yeah, she's no longer, stuck clinging to the Joker, even though, spoiler alert, she's always going to be clinging to the Joker in some form or another. It doesn't matter if she's moved on. That's the status quo, just like how Batman can never be happy. It's the world we live in. The animation, I really like this 3D animation. It is a great blend, no pun intended, of the traditional Blender team and the Maya team, and I feel like for their first ever collaboration, they did a good job. The Jinx model was on point, and the fact that they created that Harley model from scratch using the head from the animated series, Harley's animated series, to be specific, I liked that. That was a great blend, and the action was fun, everything was fine, it had the adrenaline, and that point where they're teleporting to different dimensions, one of them being Blake versus Mikasa.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
There you go, your only mate, Yeah. And I also like the ending. The ending, I don't know how intentional this was, but the ending being a kind of reverse Uno card of Joker versus Sweet Tooth, I loved that. That was so cool. And I feel like the way Harley was killed off, I had no problem with it. I liked it. It was very fun, and it was very wacky. And I think that's why I still like this episode. It's fun and wacky. It's not the best season premiere, especially comparing it to Dante Bayo and Yoda and King Mickey, but I still liked it. And I'm very curious to see how they're going to follow up on it.
Mm-hmm. All right, so kind of fitting, considering the one who has the least problems with Harley ranked her the most high. No, I'm joking. No, I mean, highest ranking episodes we've talked about so far. I just have a lot of fun with this whenever I go back and rewatch it. Like, I really like the analysis of them covering all of Harley's stuff, how she's went from bad guy to anti-hero to superhero. I really liked that. And then them going into League for the first time was very entertaining. I didn't also like Ringmaster's inclusion in the analysis. I like when they bring them in, bring all the side characters in, not just Ringmaster. But yeah, just fun to learn about, fun all around. And the fight also shared that sentiment. It's just a lot of fun. I just always have fun when I go back to this animation. It's just so much fun to watch. There's so much action, so much funny stuff going on. Both voice actors I really like, Elsie Lovelock and I forget Harley. Felicia Valenti as Harley. Yeah, both of them did a really good job. Have a lot of very good moments, especially the traitor interaction. That was great.
Yeah, that was great.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how much I can just say other than I just have a lot of fun with it. There's a lot of fun moments. I love a lot about it. It's just a fun season premiere, and I just really like it. And also the track Mad Laugh Riot is a bop. And also I especially love the climax, just with the mirrored house aesthetic. I can't say the word aesthetic. Aesthetic. It's really fun, really creepy. Just that scene, the scene is so good. I love it. And then the death was fun. Them race showing Joker's Sweet Tooth is funny and just very fun. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you can tell. It's a fun fight. I love going back to it. I probably will go back to it a lot. And while it's not my favorite season premiere, it's definitely up there as one of my favorites so far. And yeah.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm happy you guys enjoyed this episode, mostly because I think this is one of the smaller examples of how a storyboard artist can influence how the fight goes. The traitor portion was mostly ad-libbed by me.
Oh, really?
In that script moment.
Awesome.
Yeah, because as I do with every single fight, I always do my own set of research. And when I found out that Jinx really does treat fish bones as if it's actually a sentient object, mm-hmm. I knew that in character she would actually have fish bones. Be disappointed that he was a traitor.
That was good. That was a good moment. I'm so glad that was good.
So yeah, it was in the script, and I put more effort into having it be funny. And there was a bunch of other moments where just like, yeah, no, like the fact that everyone in the group was on the same page of let's make this as fun as possible definitely showed. Thanks to you guys.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
One little thing on that note of just the characters having fun as well. Like there's a lot of like moments of the characters having fun while also trying to kill each other. Because like there's the scene right after where Harley's like, "Hey, got a light?" And Jinx is like, "Oh yeah, sure." And
sure.
And she doesn't.
Yeah,
she doesn't shoot Harley. She shoots the fuse. She's just playing along. It's great.
It's fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely fun episode.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Moving swiftly onwards. Number 11 with 31 points. Cue the montage. Black Adam versus Apocalypse.
Ooh.
Oh, the meme fight.
The meme fight. He gets it.
Meme.
Okay, where did everybody have this again? I forgot.
I have this at number. Hold on. Number 13.
Trying to see who had
Number
this.
7 on my list.
And then number 11 for me. So ZDogg.
Oh, it's not below. So it goes 13 for me, then 11 for Bro. Then okay.
Yeah.
So it's good. Don't get me wrong. It's really good. It's just a case of the season being really hard to rank. Like, I just prefer other aspects of other fights more. Like, there is a lot to love about this episode. The analysis was really intriguing going into the other character, the background of Black Adam and the background of Apocalypse. I really enjoyed hearing about it. Fight's really good. A lot of raw moments from both, especially the Yellow Lantern interaction from Black Adam. No, I'm Salvador. You will fear me. Like, that's a really good line. Just, I don't know. It's just the hardest thing about ranking the season. I just like the ones I ranked above mode more. That's the best I could say. Yeah. I wish I could say more about it because it is a good episode. I do really like it. It's just, I just like the ones I ranked above it more. I will say though, second best death of the season. I think I can safely say that. Here, gosh, it was brutal. Yeah. So
okay, so it's actually funny you say that because if we were ranking deaths, this would probably be my number one. But
for me, it's a hard. I mean, I think number one is pretty as the generic choice for me. But between this and
I think I know what your actual number one would be.
Yeah, but between this and I guess I could say since they're all out, between this and Vegeta's, I think it's hard to determine because that's not my number one, but like
okay.
For second, my second favorite death of the season is this and Vegeta's and Black Adam. So between the two, I don't know which I prefer, but both are just really good in their own right. So yeah.
Yeah. I also agree. The analysis was fun. One complaint I did hear on the lads was Black Adam's analysis being kind of lackluster in comparison, at least especially in comparison to Apocalypse. And I'm like, I don't see that. It's like, and like I've also seen like Apocalypse's analysis is more like grandiose compared to Black Adam, and I'm like. I mean, sure, but also Apocalypse is kind of a more grandiose character in general, so, like, you'd actually be a little surprised how little Black Adam actually has. Like, heck, they even say in the recap, it's like, half of Black Adam's pantheon grants him abilities that Apocalypse had just by being a mutant.
Yeah, whoops.
And the fight, it's fun. I like the story aspect of it. You know, Black Adam's trying to defend Kondak from Apocalypse, which makes it seem like okay, so Black Adam is technically the protagonist here, so that means he's probably going to win, right? No. I like that twist as well, because like, yeah, you would expect Black Adam to win. With that in mind, but then he gets curb stomped, literally. I think the voice acting is really good. I mentioned this last time we talked about this, but I want to give the award for the coolest name for a voice actor that has been on this show to Wolf Williams. That is an awesome name. Which is fitting because he provides an awesome vocal performance. I know it's like, it's a little hard to hear him, and I'm like, yeah, but I don't care though. It's cool. It's a good voice. And then Cameron Nikod as Black Adam is really good too. I do like the music. I know it's memed to death, but and I also understand that like rap might be a little bit of a weird choice for a match like this, but at the same time, it's catchy. It's fun to listen to, so I'm not really complaining. And then yeah, the death. I also do like the Yellow Lantern interaction. I know it's like, well, why didn't Black Adam do more with the Yellow Lantern ring? It's like, well, why doesn't he do more with the Yellow Lantern ring in the comics?
I was gonna say, yeah, that's good. That's the only thing he does with it in the comics. Whoops.
Yeah.
So.
But yeah, and also I mentioned this last time as well. But one thing I was hoping for that the like I said, the DBX was solid, but one thing that I was hoping this fight would do better was get the scale of Apocalypse when he's all kaiju-esque. It's like you see Black Adam flying towards Apocalypse as he's grown in size, and you just see Apocalypse as a shadow in front of the moon, and you're sitting there like, holy crap, he's huge. So there's that. The backgrounds especially were really nice, really detailed. There's even some like animation there because like when Apocalypse like punches Adam into that crater, you see like buildings falling. You hear like people screaming, and you're just like, oh gosh. And then the death is more brutal than it looks on paper because not only is he curb stomped to oblivion, but also the last thing on his mind, the last thing he sees before he finally goes out is watching Kahndaq get absolutely ruined, and he failed to protect it.
Yep, and then he gets electrocuted by his own lightning.
By his own lightning. Gosh, this fight is wild. It's like I know we're not in the top 10 just yet, but you look back on this one and you're just like, man, it's like for a fight that's memed to death, you can tell that like this is a fight that's been requested for a while, even before it got memed to high heaven. And you can tell that they really wanted to go all out with it, despite the community reaction to the match as a whole. And yeah, I really enjoyed this episode.
Okay. I can only mirror what you guys have been saying, but I think the best way I can sum up this fight is it has a lot, and I mean no pun intended when I say this, again, it has a lot of energy. It's just super fucking fun to watch. Like, it's got the adrenaline, it's got the suspense, it's got the memes, it's got the excitement, it's got a little bit of everything, and I'm very surprised on how this isn't getting a lot higher on most people's rankings. It's mostly either tapped out near the bottom or close to the top 10. It doesn't always get past the top 10 from what I see, and I do think that is because people just treat it as a meme, but I feel like there's something more to it than that. The analysis, again, it's fun. I love learning about Black Adam as a whole. I know of him. I've seen him and stuff. I've never read his comics, but I know who he is and what his deal is. I loved learning about Insabanura. It was so fun. And then just the fight itself. Again, the fight has the animation has everything I could want in it, and I also do appreciate that it has a bit of a story to it. It's not just, oh, they show up, they fight. It's like, no, they would fight for a reason you would think they would, because Apocalypse would try and take over Kahndaq, and Black Adam, being its protector and its ruler, he would try and defend it. And I love how there's something at stake here. I always love it when the fights give stakes to the characters. This is why I praised the massively underrated Geese, versus oh my goodness,
Heihachi.
Heihachi, thank you. Why I praise that fight, because again, there was something more than just them fighting, and it's the same here. The rap track has grown on me. I know this is a little blasphemous to say, but I actually like it more than I do What's Up Danger. Because
I agree with that.
Okay, good. I'm not alone. It actually fits. The instrumentals fit much more here. It's not just one solid rap again and from beginning to end. No, it actually breaks up in segments. There's time to breathe, and the instrumental gets to join in on what's going on in the fight. I love that. And the death. I really, really love this death. I think this is probably one of my favorite deaths of the season, just because, like Brobuscus summed up beautifully, it's one thing to just get your head stomped in, quite literally, again and again, until your face is pretty much paste, but it's another thing to just have the last thing on your mind being you failed to protect the thing you were protecting, and your enemy is just adding salt to the wounds by crushing your head with your own electricity, and then just casually tossing your corpse while doing an evil laugh while the city is just overtaken. And yeah, Wolf I break up with pronouncing his name. Cameron, thank you. Wolf and Cameron do such a great job. Like, I swear I could not recognize Cameron as Black Adam. He really sounded like how Black Adam has been portrayed in the Injustice games. Beautiful. So, yeah, I love this fight. I think there's more to it than just memes.
Yep.
Absolutely.
True. This fight was one of the fights that I actually did some hand-drawn work for, and that was the Green Lantern moment. The drawn hand was me. I've been doing a lot of drawing hands this season, actually.
That must be
point that out.
That must be fun.
Yeah. No.
Yeah, I believe me, I get it.
We'll see. This is practice when you guys use Shigaraki. Clearly.
Oh gosh.
Oh god. Oh, no, don't worry. Okay.
Sorry.
It's fine. But yeah, no. Aside from I may not be in the camp of the meme of wanting this fight, whether people actually wanted it or not. But I do appreciate that there was something behind it. And when it came out, people seem to enjoy it. I think this is one of the best environmental fights in this season because, man, it's just an interesting area, and then later gets destroyed and later subjugated by a weird mutant man. But yeah, as for the death and all that, yeah, no, like it is definitely up there on the brutal aspect. And that none of that was me. All that was the director. They wanted that to just. I don't know if they didn't like him or something like that, but that was mean. So, yeah. When we get to a lot of these fights, the only things I can really point out is the level of enjoyment I had of doing. I will say though, this was one of the first boarded fights that felt short to me, and since it's actually a plus, it was short in the initial thing. It was the shortest fight I've ever done. So they actively said, okay, sweet. Since it's short, we can add stuff. That's awesome. We want to do more stuff in this fight. So that was good.
There you go.
I think they said something similar about that on commentary, I think. Like the big thing was the comic book opening.
Yeah. That wasn't in the first script. It was just like a standard opening affair. So due to the fact that we had more time, they were able to put it in, which is nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
And okay, you memers want to hear me say it? Black Adam does indeed punch the best. Let's move on.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on.
Yeah.
All right.
Let's go.
All right, let's
Okay.
move on.
I was gonna make a hierarchy of power joke.
Anyway.
All right, well, we're in the top 10 now, so
All right.
Boy, here we go.
here's the big ones. And you talked about short. That's interesting. Number 10. with 28 points. The montage plays.
Feel the threat, 'cause every step is like a mountain moving. We are the method, I forget now I will introduce it. You feel the hurt, 'cause every step I take the earth is shaking. We don't mistakes in my way, 'cause it's a mile for the taking.
Omni-Man versus Homelander.
Wow. I was expecting this to get higher.
Our highest viewed episode at simply the top 10. Explain yourself.
Yes, exactly. How dare you put this? Why does this get to be a number 10? This not only is the highest viewed episode of season 9, it got Death Battle 5 million subscribers.
What?
I believe it.
It was responsible for getting it to 5 million.
It's fine. It's fine. Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Well,
Oh gosh.
this
I was kind of worried about this rank. I'll be honest.
this is ZDogg's intro. So ZDogg had this at number 14.
Whoa.
I had this at number 9, and Richard had this at number 5. So ZDogg,
Okay.
you wanna?
Okay.
Do you want to explain yourself, my good sir?
I'll try. Listen.
I'm kidding.
I know. I'll be honest. This was, even while putting this list together, this was the ranking I was the most uncertain about. I'll be honest. Because here's the thing. This is a good episode. I will admit. Obviously, I enjoyed this episode. I even had to go through this, rewatch this episode a few times. Like, is this right? Is this the right ranking? I even had to. Oh, gosh. Okay, so here's the thing. I liked it, but it's. I wish I could explain it better than like it's just another thing. I prefer aspects of the other episodes above it more, but like there's a lot of good here. I did enjoy both analyses. There's a lot of good stuff about it. I like how it didn't spoil anything, but it went into what was in in both shows currently. The way it did that really well. The fight's great. The setup is fantastic. Fantastic, really unsettling, bone chilling. Both voice actors did a great job. Death is my favorite of the season. I know it's basic, but dear gosh, like there's a lot of good stuff about it, but like, I mean, and I do completely understand the hype behind it. It's just, like I said, there's aspects about the other episodes I enjoy more, and I will admit, the length did kind of get to me. Like, I just wanted more of it. It's one of those things. Like, yeah, with what was given, it did good with what it was given. I just would have liked more of it personally. Yeah, and also, I'll be honest, the track, I mean, it's fine, but I don't see why people are saying it's like the best of the season, which I've heard a few times. Like, I don't know. Like,
That's a bold claim.
Yeah.
I know. Like, it sounds fine, but I just prefer a lot of other tracks this season. Like, a lot of other tracks. And I don't know if I'm explaining myself this well, because I don't know. I have a feeling this is going to be one where I'm going to rank it higher over time. It's just, I just enjoy other aspects about the other episodes more. That's just it. Like, and maybe it's the thing of, like, they didn't go into the histories as well as they could because of spoilers, which I do appreciate as someone who is keeping up with both shows.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't know. I do feel a little guilty about this one. But, like, I don't know. And I do still like it. It's just, I just enjoy other aspects about other episodes more than this. Plain and simple. So, I'm sorry.
It's okay. No.
It's whatever.
Honestly, you should be proud of yourself because I have seen almost every ranking of season 9 I've seen. I I have seen people put this at the very bottom, like straight up at number 17 or number 16. So you didn't trust me. You didn't put it that low.
Yeah, and like I said, this season is just hard to rank in general.
No, it's
yeah. Okay, so I guess to jump in.
Yeah, you go first.
Okay.
So yeah, I'll admit the short length did kind of weird me out at first, like when I first watched it. Upon several rewatches, though, I kind of realized that the shorter length and the rather one-sidedness of the fight choreography was kind of the point.
It's like, what else can you do?
Exactly. It's like, for one, like,
portrait versus a Q-tip.
Yeah, it's like for one, these two are very simple characters. Like Omni-Man has super strength, flight, incredible healing. Yeah. Whereas Homelander has super strength, flight, heat vision, sonic breath. It's like these two are very, very simple. And it's like you look at this match like as a casual fan of both franchises, and you're like, okay, so how is Homelander going to win this? And the answer is quite simple. He's not.
It's simple, really. He doesn't.
Yeah.
That's the best part. He doesn't.
Yeah. And I realized that combining that all together and making this like, it's short and it's one-sided, but it's also like, yeah, that's kind of the idea. It's like, that's not, and I've seen people say like, yeah, we understand that, but that also kind of comes off as spite. And I'm like, it's spite for Homelander. It's like, it's like,
he's the bad guy.
It's like I know that like there are times when it's like, yeah, I wouldn't want to have a spite match for anybody, regardless of how much I like them. But it's like the idea of disliking Homelander is disliking Homelander that much is the entire point of his character. It's like you want to see Homelander get brutally slaughtered in every way, shape, and form, and you get that here. Anyways,
it's very satisfying.
Anyways, I'm jumping ahead. Analysis was fine. I do kind of understand the complaint about the like having to avoid spoilers. It does kind of bother me with The Boys because The Boys comics are very different than what the show is doing right now. I guess that's kind of like playing fair because they didn't do because Invincible can't really say the same.
No.
Still, it's fun to learn about both of them. It's fun to listen to them talk about both characters in a more traditional light compared to the 7 Battle Royale. And the fight is fun. The setup is fantastic. Like I don't think there's any denying that. Like ZDogg said, both voice actors. Especially, dude, for as much as Homelander got his face caved in during the fight, literally, Yang Ye is fantastic.
Absolutely.
Yes, I'm pulling for him to win the best male death battle performance in the Death Battle Discord Awards.
The amazing thing is, sooner or later, we're going to get Poochie from JoJo's into Death Battle, and the fact that we have connections to Yang Ye is actually
oh gosh,
that's going to be amazing.
True. Oh my god.
True.
Awesome.
And then the fight. I'm gonna disagree with ZDogg on the track. I will say that like hearing him say that people have said that this is like they rank this one really high on their season rankings when it comes to like the tracks, like one of the best vocal tracks this season. I'm like, okay, that's a bit of a bold claim. I haven't heard that. I believe that you've heard that, but I too find that a little hard to believe. But that's more so because the rest of the vocal tracks are phenomenal.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, this one's probably not winning much awards as far as like favorite music tracks are concerned, but it's still a bop to listen to. Like when the vocals kick in during the fight, I'm sitting there like jazzing out to it. It's like I'm sitting there like kind of beating my head a little bit to it, which is fun. I like the reference they threw in, Omni-Man holding up Homelander's head to a plane, but then Homelander's like, no, and
they both did the thing.
They both did the thing.
They did the thing they do in their things. That's amazing.
Yeah. And then I also agree the death was fantastic. Very satisfying to someone like Homelander. To see someone like Homelander get mutilated the way he did. And it's like once the... I also appreciate the sort of... I mentioned the setup, but the overall story of this episode is like Homelander's just trying to show... Like, he's showing up, he's being a troublemaker, he kills Debbie. And Omni-Man is like, okay. So here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna humiliate this guy. I'm not just gonna kill him. I'm gonna humiliate him. I'm gonna go easy on him at first. I'm gonna let him see what he can do. And he even like starts teaching Homelander how to throw a punch, which I'm like, all right, cool.
What a nice guest.
What a nice guy, you know? And then the second, actually no, I'm jumping ahead. When they crash down and everyone sees just how violent of a person Homelander is, his image is ruined. The only thing he cares about is ruined. Which might not have been part of Omni-Man's original plan, but it worked out anyway. It's a very fun bonus.
Yeah, it's like cherry on top.
Yeah. But then the second that Homelander threatens Mark, that's when Nolan's like, oh, okay. Just
time to use 0.1% of my power.
Yeah. That's when he's like, okay, you die now.
Time to die.
And he even kept his word. What a nice guy.
He's a man of his word and taught him how to eat as well. What a nice guy.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Very nice. If there's one thing I guess I can say, is that I kind of wish that some of the attacks that Homelander did land, Omni-Man had a bit more of a reaction towards. More specifically, when he was getting eye lasered in the face. Because I don't know. I mean, he seemed like he seemed pretty in pain when the Immortal was digging into his eyes. So I mean, I don't know why this is any different. Also, I don't know. Maybe go the step further and just have it shown that that attack actually like blinded Omni-Man a little bit, or at least give him like some serious burns or something.
Yeah,
I don't know.
That was my fault.
I don't know. It's a small thing. I understand that they were going for the one-sided aspect of this, but I don't know. Maybe just a little more reaction out of Omni-Man would have been nice. But oh well. And then in the conclusion, then the advantages and disadvantages bar came up, and I just see like 7.2 billion times faster and like what it was like 60 billion times stronger or something. I was like, oh, okay. Yep, this is what we're doing now. Okay. And it's just kind of interesting to me that like they bring up like probably the most fascinating aspect of Homelander as a character being like, yeah, he never really did learn how to fight because he never had to. He's already the strongest guy in his universe by a landslide. So why would he have to worry about being a trained martial artist? You know. But they use that as like a disadvantage for him, especially considering Omni-Man has been fighting for thousands of years, and you're just like, oh, yeah, okay. It's also kind of funny to me that the abilities that Homelander had that Omni-Man didn't were like the two biggest things that work on Viltrumites, and they did jack squat.
Barely an inconvenience.
Yeah. I just think that's funny, you know? Maybe I wouldn't have found it funny for anyone else, but it's Homelander, so screw that guy. So yeah. Fun episode.
Yeah, I guess I'll be the last one here. By the way, I switched mic qualities because I was still echoing, so yeah,
Okay.
just sorry again for all of you who are OCD out there. I can't help it. So, I think Brobuscus pretty much hit all of the nails on the head. So, what I can only just say is, I understand that this is everybody. Look, on paper, I can understand why people would put this on their low end of the season, but I do believe even when they have it explained to them, they still don't get the point that this episode is not meant to be a balanced matchup. These two are not meant to throw hands at each other like they're both even in terms of power.
Nope.
They're not. Like, the episode calls it out multiple times that it's literally, and I believe I said this back when we first discussed this, we essentially have a bully going up against a bigger bully who's been doing it a lot longer than this bully. So I love the analysis. I do find it funny how they didn't want to do spoilers, and that's why they decided not to go all out with their stories. But it's funny because they include a panel from the Invincible comic where, spoiler alert,
Oops.
Omni-Man dies, so
Whoops.
yeah, kind of dropped the ball on that one, whoever was editing. But I also really do love this animation. I have said in the past how the Rooster Teeth 2D department needed more time until they could finally find their footing with how they do the action fights, and my god, they have. Like, this is by far their best episode that they've worked on to date. The choreography, mostly from Omni-Man, it was very good. It was very, very good. Nolan just, again, the whole purpose of the episode is for Nolan to just beat the shit, humiliate, and in the end just show Homelander that he really is nothing. Like, his image, nothing. His fighting skills, nothing. Everything about him is just made up. But I also do gotta just, I love the little stuff. Again, like him teaching him how to take a punch from someone his own size, but also how to correctly throw a punch. And even the end where we do see the death, which it is the best death of the season. Hands down, no competition. I love this is how great the episode did a good job for me, even though we are completely rooting for Nolan to kill Homelander. There is that small speck where we kind of do feel the smallest amount of sympathy for Homelander's situation, because not only has he had his jaw removed, his heart taken out of his chest, shoved down his throat, but you also get to see him cry, and he's visibly like, it's like a child getting, their comeuppance. It's very sad, and you kind of feel bad, but in the end, that goes away immediately. But I just like how the episode managed to still kind of make you not want this upon your worst enemy. So yeah, I also love the track. I think the track is good. It has a dumb name, I'll give it that. Why they couldn't just call it Diabolical and just be done with it, I have no idea. But I do. I love this fight, and it is definitely the best 2D episode we've had. Not counting the 2D segments from Popeye versus Saitama, but this is just great. And again, it got the highest. It's the highest viewed episode of season 9. It's about to crack 9 million views. And
no way, really?
Yeah, it's almost at 9 million.
Dear gosh.
And it did help Death Battle get those extra bit of subscribers to put them at 5 million. So it did have an impact, and I kind of wish people would not just say it was just done and it had no impact. It did. It had a lot of impact. But yeah.
Yep.
When it comes to my input on this, it's just, yeah, this fight was pretty one-sided, but then I have to put myself in a brain, put my headset on and just say, okay, so when we do a fight like Deku versus Asta and you don't like it because it's one-sided and you hate us showing Deku putting up much of a fight, you hate us. But when we actually do show an actual stomp matchup for an actual what it is as a stomp matchup, you hate us. You have to pick one, guys.
Yep.
Gotta love the Death Battle community. Gotta love it.
You want us to be accurate to the fact that this person has no chance against this other person, even though you wanted this fight. We've heard it on Twitter. If you wanted this fight, or do you want us to actually show that they may have some chance of at least doing something to them? Either way, we lose. When I say it's my fault about the whole eye laser thing, in the script, the eye lasers were supposed to be permanent, and he actually lost the use of his eyes. Omni-Man lost the use of his eyes. But when I got to the point where he was holding his head and then he had to say the word swallow, I thought it'd be more impactful if he opened up his now red eyes, being the last thing that he sees before crushing his head. And so that took precedent. Sorry about that.
It's no big deal. It's at the very, like, if nothing else, just to hear like a scream or like grunting would have been nice. That literally was all I had.
See, that was out of my control. That was all.
No, I know.
But they did say they just pretty much were to show any point where Omni-Man is being hurt, quote unquote, by Homelander, kind of make it look like he doesn't care.
True. Yeah, it's whatever. It's a small little thing. Yeah. Just to get more out of Tom, Shelp, because we didn't mention it, but his performance as Omni-Man is fantastic.
Yeah, it is absolutely.
It really is. I feel like it is like Yun obviously is the MVP here, but I really don't want to take anything away from Tom because by God he continues to just impress.
Yeah,
and
I remember I saw a reaction video for this fight that literally just came out like a few days ago. To this fight, and they got to that line from Omni-Man. It's like, "What's the matter? Are you going to cry?" And they're just like, "Oh gosh." I was like, "Yep, well, that's how you know." Yeah, fun episode. I can't complain too much.
Yeah, and yeah.
Did you have something else you wanted to add? Or...
Oh no, I'm sorry. I was just gonna say real quick. If people complain about the ending, we did bring this up briefly. You can either have that awesome, suspenseful tension opening, or you can get an extra minute of Omni-Man and Homelander fighting. Take your pick.
Yeah. Pick your poison, really. You're gonna hate this episode either way, because that's
true.
Because that's just how things are. Anyways, moving on. Next up.
Once again, I'm sorry.
That's no big deal.
I cried. No, joking.
Crack the top 10. That's all that matters.
Yep.
Yeah, that's true. It did crack the top 10. That's all. Yeah. So.
And it stayed away from another tie. Speaking of which,
oh boy.
Our second, and I believe, last tie. At number 9 for 25 points. Tanjiro versus Jonathan Joestar.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
Okay,
Right.
so remembering who had this at the lowest. I think it was me. Yeah, it was me. Number 10 on mine, number 9 on ZDogg's, and number 6 on Richard's. So yeah, I mean, this episode cracked my top 10, so clearly I like this one. Yeah, I mean, this. For one thing, this was the episode. This got me to watch Demon Slayer, and
Same.
I don't love it, but it's a good show, so I'm not complaining. And I'm. When am I gonna say no to JoJo? Really? Especially with Jonathan. Jonathan's a good boy.
That he is.
Very good boy.
Tanjiro's a good boy too, but Jonathan is a good boy.
Rest in peace, Jonathan.
Yeah. And he's voiced by Johnny Young Bosch, so I mean,
Which again, I did not notice that in the beginning when I watched part 1. I swear to God, I did not recognize Bosch before this.
Yeah. As for the episode, I will say probably what places this as low as it is for me is the analysis. I wanted to say more specifically Tanjiro's. Tanjiro, because of the idea of like avoiding spoilers. I think they did this better for Omni-Man vs. Homelander. Because they kind of just end Tanjiro's analysis kind of abruptly. It's like they have this like really nice build up, and they're just like, and whatever Inosuke is, and then they just end it, and I'm just like, oh, well, okay. And Jonathan, I get those two names mixed up for some reason. Jonathan's analysis was going so well for so long, and then they just had to end it with, wait, is the ripple his... I'm just like, oh, okay, you ruined it. It's like, so great, both analyses are pretty fun, and then they just drop it right at the end. And I'm just like, great, okay, cool. So analysis, it starts off nice, but they both end kind of abruptly and not in my favorite way. The fight is fun. It's beautiful. It's emotional. I know people take issue with the emotional ending. I am not one of those people. I thought the ending was really nice. It didn't make me cry, I'll admit, but I left thinking, wow, what an ending. Both voice actors, Zach and Benji, do a fantastic job. Every time Benji screams out his overdrives, I'm just like, good lord. Okay. I will say I'm not the biggest fan of the sprite work. Maybe this is just a me thing, but the sprites just... They're not bad, but they just look kind of off to me. I can't really put my finger on why. It's like they're well animated. They look like the characters. It's just I don't know. I can't really explain it. I like the overall choreography. The effects were nice. I know the water could have looked better, but meh. They were never going to reach the same highs as the show, so it's whatever. And I really like the music a lot. It's very pretty, and it goes hard when it needs to, but it's also very emotional when it needs to. Especially the ending. That was really nice. And I also just really like the potential ramifications of Jonathan adventuring with Nezuko. That just gives me some. That gives me some fun. That gives me some fun ideas. Like, yeah. Solid episode. I don't have anything against it, even though I said some things I have against it. But you know, whatever. It's neat. It's very neat.
All right, so that's my turn now. Yeah, very solid episode. I like both analysis. The one going into, I haven't actually watched Demon Slayer yet, so I don't know what things are spoilers. I'm not as familiar with the spoilers or what they would be avoiding, but in general, I did like both analyses. But them going into Demon Slayer and JoJo, and I am going to disagree with Jonathan's ending being bad. I mean, it's because I'm a little immature, but I don't know. First of all, the line leading up to just everything leading up to the ending of the analysis is very good, but then just to have that comedic punchline, I don't know. I just really like it. I think it's funny, but yeah, overall solid all around. And fight, very beautiful background. I love the backgrounds. Looks very nice. Voice actors did a very, very nice job. With what they're giving, and overall, it just looks very nice. It was a very pretty animation all around, I will say. All of Tanjiro's effects looks very nice. Maybe not as well good as the show, but no, whatever. I don't think they look very good. They don't look bad. And choreography is nice. Dear gosh. Going back to the voice actors though. Dear gosh, Jonathan is that scream, the overdrive screams are they're very good with them. And I just like how friendly how friendly they are to each other throughout the fight. It's just, even though, you know, Jonathan's trying to kill his sister, they just respect him. There's a level of respect there, and I very much appreciate that throughout the fight. I like when fights do that. I think this did it very well. And ending wise, I mean, I don't get the complaints. I don't know. I thought it was a very nice emotional ending. Yeah, maybe the tears were a bit silly, but everything else around it was nice. It's also JoJo, yes, but everything around it is very nice, very sweet. I love that Jonathan vowed to protect Nezuko. That was a very nice moment, and just a very solid episode. I liked it. So, yeah.
All right, Richard, you're up.
Yeah, can't complain.
I think you guys just hit the nail on the head. I like this episode and everything it has, and I have nothing to say but positive things about it.
Well, he kept it quick.
I can say, yeah.
So John, anything you wanna?
No, as a devout JoJo fan, I once told myself if I'm ever in charge of a JoJo fight, if it doesn't crack people's top 10s, I will be disappointed in myself than anyone else. So, yeah, this was fun because, well, JoJo fan, Jonathan's fantastic. I watched a little bit of Demon Slayer, didn't really get all the way through it, but I understand from my own personal research, I understand the lengths they went through to make sure no spoilers, because oh my god, if we spoil anything, we would probably be crucified. So a hit was a hit on that front. As for the effects, yeah, unlike you, Photable, we actually pay our taxes, so yeah, of course they're not going to be the same at their level. And for those of you who don't know, yeah, the whole thing with Photable is that apparently they were paying taxes or something like that, so they were able to get, like, they basically had no limit to the amount of funds they put into their animation work at the time. So that's why their animation is usually so good, because they have all the money they need.
Yeah.
As for anything else around the fight, yeah, Liam's going to be in charge of any JoJo fight as well, because he's as big as a JoJo fan.
Yeah, I would imagine.
Yeah. So his vision of this fight being both respectful but also obvious on the occurrence of Jonathan trying to kill Nezuko, and the ironicness of it of, man, Jonathan would have stopped point blank if Tanjiro just simply said it was a sister literally to start the fight. And then the open-endedness somewhat at the ending, and just trying to make it as painless as possible. It's like a night and day difference between what Asta did to Deku at the end of his and what Jonathan does to Tanjiro at the end of his fight. So
yeah.
Writers are writers.
I also, I don't believe we mentioned this, but I also do like the mercy kill.
Yeah, that's nice.
Character, just in character.
Yeah. Yeah. It's also a good way to show off that, yeah, that's a thing that Hamon can do. Okay, so what could have possibly tied with this episode?
I'm actually.
I believe this is Richard's to explain. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Hopefully he'll. Be able to.
So, number 8, also with 25 points, tied with Tanjiro Jonathan, is. Wait, whoa. This isn't supposed to happen. Huh. Guess the video was too long. Okay, well, I guess come back, next time, whenever that may be, to see the rest of this list. Yeah. Guess this really was a long one. See you guys then, I guess.